Hello, everybody, and welcome
Hel-
to the 40th Q&A.
Hello, everyone. I'm traveling now.
We seem to have missed some in-between questions. We're going to go back and pick those up next time, but for this time, we're going to just get started with Victor's question. Hi, Victor.
Hello, Victor.
Hi, Daniel and AKI. What did Daskalos say about fasting?
Mhm.
I remember from an earlier Q&A, Daniel said Daskalos didn't say much about it, and that it could be a potential, it could be of the potential of starving elemental. Could you expand a bit more on that topic of fasting in general? In the Bible, the Ninevites fasted in reverence to Christ, and also fasted for Christ also fasted 40 days in the desert. But I struggle with whether or not a prolonged fast is good for my spiritual, physical, and mental health, such as if I lose muscle and strength, etc. Thank you for your answer in advance. Yeah, Daskalos never really spoke much about it, although he was an Essene in Christ's lifetime, and the Essenes had fasting as a very integral part of their practice as a purification. And, I don't recommend long fasting, certainly not 40 days. But you have to work up to long fast. You shouldn't just jump in and try to fast for 30 days or something. I mean, it's like a person going to the gym. They don't just lift the heaviest weights right off the bat. They practice and work up to it. And I can say from my own experience of it, a few days or a day even is very beneficial. It lightens you, it cleanses you very nicely. Now, when I did it, I would do like maybe start on Friday night and then end on Sunday night. And I would drink cayenne pepper and lemon juice together when I want to take a drink of something. And you can do different kinds of things. Some Christians fast and they do it like they'll start in the morning, go all day, and at the end of the day, they eat something very light. And they call that a fast, and it is. But I wouldn't recommend a prolonged one for anybody. And if it, you should know if it doesn't, it's challenging, but you should know after you do one day or something whether this is a good thing for you. Now, I always felt lighter and freer afterwards, but pay attention to your own experience. Okay.
Over? Okay. Hello, Victor. Thank you for your question. Yes, fasting is good for calming down our three bodies because even we feel we are relaxed, but the inside of our material body, so many things are going on, right? Blood circulation, we are breathing, and our digestion. We take a lot of etheric vitality, of course, from our breathing, of course, our meditating, but we take etheric vitality also from our food, which we eat, and digestion. Holy Spirit and archangels, helping and maintaining our body 24 hours, 7 days a week. Likewise, to energy which we need to digest and convert that energy into etheric vitality is tremendous work. So eating lightly or fasting properly really helps. According to Daskalos' teaching, relax three bodies. Not only emotional body, not only noetical body, thinking body. We need to completely relax our material body. Not only just outwardly, uh, also inside of our body, activities in our material body too. In this sense, it's very helpful to reduce the number of the food which we need to digest. But I suggest you, like you say, if you feel like, oh, isn't it reducing the muscle or energy of a material? But if you feel anxiety or some doubt about fasting, then your emotional body and thinking body, psychical body and analytical body is going to be, they're going to be busy, right? So it doesn't make sense to relax all our three bodies. So whole point is the most important thing is to relax our three bodies completely. So if you try to do it, relax completely psychoanalytically and try fasting, then that's gonna work. And I have one more advice. If you try to do that, please follow the professional, like advisor for fasting, or follow the proper method. Please don't do it by your own, because um, the meal after what is called recovery meal after fasting, we have to be very careful. More than during the fasting, we have to uh, eat properly, slowly to recover from fasting. So this is all my advices. I hope it's gonna help you.
Yeah, don't eat something real heavy afterwards. That'll shock
Mm.
your system too much.
Yeah, many people get harmed.
And if Descos was here, and he really is, I have a feeling he would say something like this. It's not just fasting from food that you should be doing. You should also fast from your thoughts and from your emotions, your desires. So while you're fasting, don't just sit there and think the same old thoughts and have the same old feelings, Try to reduce those, fast on expressing those.
Relax all your three bodies. That's real fasting.
Okay, Bertold is asking,
Hello, Bertold.
could you provide guidance of creating an elemental and intention? Well, we're creating them all the time, all the time. And problem is we're doing it subconsciously. So what you're really asking is how to create an elemental consciously. Well, first really to create an elemental consciously means you're doing it from the noetic. You're using your mind to create it. And those are way more powerful than using your emotion as the primary power. So let's say in a case like I don't know, you can just pick anything you want, positive. You want to start developing positive in your mind. Maybe you say, I get angry too much. Some things make me angry. And I don't want that. I don't want to be an angry person. I want to be a calm person. So you start with that idea, which is the intent, right? You want to be free of anger. You don't want to be controlled by anger. So that's your first thought, is for you to create this elemental. And you get an idea, you should see it too. See yourself not getting angry. See yourself, no matter what the provocation is, you just don't get angry. So you want to see that. So try to visualize yourself, somebody provoking you, but you don't respond. You don't do that knee-jerk reaction. Now, when we're doing a knee-jerk reaction, pay attention. When you feel yourself just kind of reacting subconsciously in a knee-jerk fashion, it means that this is totally coming from your subconsciousness. In other words, it's elemental driven. You aren't consciously choosing. The elemental is choosing how to react in you. And if you do and you get caught in that, then it causes, a bad outcome. So just try to see yourself being more conscious, more detached, less bothered by such things. And that's the way to start it. And then, of course, repeating that, not all the time, but maybe once a day, At the same time, do it with the intention and the desire. You have a little desire, but a great deal of intention in it. The desire is, I just don't want to be that way. I want to be free from that problem. And then visualize. So there you're using, noetical, psychical, and the imprinted ether of the noetical to create this powerful, strong elemental. And it becomes an ally elemental. We're always talking about these elementals as if they're all bad. They're not. We have really good elementals in us too. And we have to call on these to help us overcome the ones we are not so desirable. Say it like that.
Thank you, Daniel. Hello, Bertold. We create elementals all the time, even during the sleeping time. But most of the elemental which we create in our daily life, in our life, is emotional thought type of elementals or desire thought type of elementals. As we study this teaching, we have two types of elementals. Emotion thought type of elemental, which we create usually. But we have another kind of elemental, thought emotional type of elemental. Thought comes first, and the emotion, the wish comes next, and the create elemental. All the exercises which we try to practice is to create a thought and next emotion type of elemental. So my advice is to create a thought emotional type of elemental consciously, not subconsciously. It's just like our exercise. Relax three bodies completely and do the proper breathing and find your I-ness and using the 3 of 5 golden keys, observation, concentration, and visualization, using the kinetic, aesthetic imprinting ether. We consciously, as our I-ness, we visualize the vision, image of it. This is the creative thought, emotional type of elementals. So this is the way, proper way to create elementals. And no worries, as long as you practice this teaching system, then you are automatically creating a thought emotional type of elementals. And in our daily introspection, we check how much emotional type of unnecessary elementals we are creating. We observe everything, right? So beyond the practice of teaching, then you can automatically practice the proper way of creating elementals. And one more thing, you said the word of intention. When we create elemental, when you create elemental, the important thing is who is creating this elemental? Or eventually, what is creating this elemental? When everybody can create elementals, but do you create that elemental as your present day personality in very low vibrating state, or a little bit, a higher vibrating state? Or do you create this elemental very refined, how can I say, higher body, higher, more like close to as a soul level, or furthermore, the spirit level, knowing yourself, awareing yourself as God. You can create elemental like that way. So intention, when you create elemental, we call willpower. But whose willpower? What's willpower? This is the very important essence. So please be mindful whenever you create elemental consciously, who is creating and what is creating this elemental. Then that's gonna work a lot. This is my advice.
The second question is, could you tell more about the power of the 12 and of the 13th? In the past, people used to use lunar calendar of the 13 months. And then there's the 13 zodiacs in the sky. And the Catholic Church chooses that 13 as a bad number, which might mean it carries spiritual powers. There are no bad numbers. I'll just say that to begin with. It's how people use them. The 12 in Daskalos's system, he associated it with the 12 steps up the Jacob's ladder. On the, if you know the symbol of life path thing, we have on the right side of our body 12 labors, 12 of Hercules' labors. And on the left side, from center number 10 to center number 7, there's 12 steps, according to Daskalos, up this pathway. Now, some mystics say there's 14 steps, and some mystics say there's only 10 steps up the Hercules path. It doesn't really matter. What matters is these are divisions which we go up. Now, the 14 is associated with the 14-pointed star, which is placed at the place where Christ was born. So it's a symbol of birth, but it's also a symbol for basically these 12 initiations, we'll call them, or they call them 12 stations of Christ, or 14 stations of Christ, that he went through in his to his crucifixion. And each of us goes through those same things. We go through them in a small way and in a greater way. But each lifetime we have to go through these things. Sometimes we don't go through all of them, but sometimes we get really powerful ones. Like the first thing that happens is Christ is betrayed, right? Then he has to carry his cross. He falls down on his mission. So these things are very, very symbolic. Whether you say there's 12 or 14, I think they say there's 12 because the last two stations in the official 14 stations of Christ is he is taken down off the cross, he is buried. So he didn't really do that. Somebody did that to his dead body. Anyway, but they are things that we must face. And so we should be prepared for that. We should know what to do what happens when someone betrays us. I mean, we all have been betrayed to some degree, right? What do? You try to take revenge, you fight. What did he do? So that's one of the powers of that's the way we use the power of the 12. The 13th, you're right. I mean, our calendar system is totally messed up. The ancients got the 13 calendars by observing there's 13 moons. Women have 13 menstrual cycles in a year. But I think it really came from the turtle. The back of the turtle has 13 big plates and 28 little plates. And so that was their calendar, 13 months with 28 days. And then they had the few days left over were holy days, depending on which culture you came from, or days you would just be quiet and not do anything. So this is really, I think it's just an integral, like a hardwired piece in our culture. But I don't know who did it. Probably the Romans. They came along and changed everything. So they started giving Caesar's names to it. The July is from Julius Caesar, right? And September, October, November. Well, October is the 10th month, but October means 8. November means 9, but we have it the 11th month in our calendar. So I think they've just kind of jumbled things up, and that's man messing with it. I think the more natural thing is to follow the 13, but I don't see us going back to that anytime soon. Okay.
Okay. Yes, Bertold, your second question is very simple but probably we need one day, more days to explain because it's very deep. So in this session, I can explain very simply. I will try my best to explain this very simply. I have two ways to explain this. One, in this material world, in this world, every single point, wherever, everywhere, if we take one point, then this point is the manifestation of, we study the triangle, right? Number 3, it's a divine state. Divine state, number 3, is expressed in what we call structis, 4 directions. This is a universal law. So every single point, wherever in this dimension, it's the manifestation of the divine state in 4 directions, which means this is a universal law. So each direction, of course, contains God is everywhere, right? So each direction contains 3 natures of God. So 3 by 4 equal 12. So which means we have the power of from the top of the divine state, absolute beingness and beingness, and to the world of existence. This power, original power, life, is manifested in this world, 12 directions. And also, we have a central point, right? So 12 plus 1 equal 13. So 13 is not the bad number at all. This is one explanation. And number 2, we can explain in a little bit different way. We have a unmanifested state. There's no number, right? But first, we expressed as in the divine Father is expressed as the point and the line, you know. Then it's going to create 1 and 3 by creating the line which has 2 point end point, right? Number 3, right? The first, so that's why we have a triangle, equilateral, big triangle as number 3, 3 in 1, right? But the next state is created, this power, life power, is manifested at 7. It's projected to the 6 directions. This is like north, east, south, west, and the up and down, right? So those are the 6 directions plus 1 point, 1 central point. So the factor of 7 is created. So 3, the next 7, and the next state in the 3-dimensional world, that element of 7 is manifested as north, east, south, west, and the how can I say, the north upward, south, north upward, north downward, because we have up and down, right? So each direction has another, the 2, okay, directions. And we also have the northeast and the east-south, southeast, and the southwest, and the northwest. So all together, it's going to be manifested and 12 directions with central point equal number 13. So again, number 13 is not bad number at all. Furthermore, if we add 1 plus 3 equal 4, right? Number 4 is the symbol of a certain type of tetractys or directions. So we need to study a lot. But if I explain very simply, understandable way, I can explain this way. I hope that's going to help. But we will have the seminar or lessons specifically on this matter in the future soon.
Bruce is asking a question. Hello, Daniel and AKI. Many blessings to
Hello.
you.
Hello.
Could you share an ideal phrasing for creating an elemental, an effective, vigilant elemental? Is it the same as establishing a perpetual state of observation? Well, this is very much like the previous question. Yeah. Daskalos actually created a great one for us. He said, nothing must escape your attention. So when you create this elemental of vigilance, which is alertness, basically, you say, I want complete alertness in my three bodies. Nothing will escape my attention. That's a good phrasing for it. And of course, that's not possible, but it's a step toward it. And you'll discover the more you do that, the more observant you become, and the more you start to become aware of these things. That you were there all the time, you just never noticed. So we have to wake ourselves up. And I'll tell you something else about observation. Everybody wants to know more about the life in the psychical worlds, noetical worlds. Every night we cross over subconsciously and have an out-of-body experience. And every day we come back, we remember very little about it. Well, why is that? Well, one thing has to do with where the ethers are distributed between our material body and our psychical body, but that's not, I won't go into that now. But what Dasko says, the more and more you become observant while you're awake, the more observant you're going to be on the other side. So this is a very, very important practice. It's one of the 5 golden keys to the kingdom of the heavens that we're about to do the workshop on in November in North Carolina. And it's just vital. Even if in the material world, spiritual world, you need these keys. You need to learn how to use them and put them in the right doors to open. Keys open doors, and that leads to something. So observation is just one of the most important ones to do. And creating this elemental of vigilance, again, you're creating an ally elemental to help you become more awake. We walk around so subconsciously. We just pay attention to all the dialogue going on inside our head as we do things, and we miss so much. So that's how I would suggest doing it.
Over? Okay. It's a little bit different. We have a physical distance today, but not the aesthetic way. Yeah, hi, Bruce. Thank you for your question. Creating an effective vigilant elemental is very, very important practice. But my answer is creating an effective vigilance elemental and establishing the perpetual state of observation. They are not exactly same. My answer is creating effective vigilant elementals all the time. Practice to create them. Then eventually we will notice, realize who is creating this, and who am I creating this? What am I creating this? And then slowly, we realize ourselves, oh, we are creating this elemental. And we know who we are and what we are. Then slowly it's gonna be switched into perpetual observation state. So I think by practice, creating a vigilant elementals will lead us to be the perpetual observation state. Yeah, this is my answer. Yes, the perpetual observation state is the nature of God, right? But the creating elemental is not the nature of life itself. So creating elemental and the perpetual observation state is a little different.
Are you done?
Yes, sorry. My spotlight had a little bit
Intense?
program. Yeah, no, I just needed to adjust, but it's all right. Thank you for caring. Yes,
Okay,
let's move on.
we have a good one from Christy here. Hi, Daniel and AKI. I have a couple of
Hello,
questions.
Christy.
You have spoken a bit about the reasons for our ill health and that these are our karma, or what we have done to ourselves through poor choices and actions towards others. This might seem a silly question, but is the sun actually responsible for our skin cancers? Or are we ourselves responsible for them? Doctors and specialists all blame the sun, and we are told to cover up and put on sunscreen to avoid getting skin cancers. But I feel this may not actually be true. Let me just answer that part first before you go into the next part of the question, which sort of is a continuation. When did we start getting skin cancer? I heard a doctor say the other day it was in the 70s. Now, before that, we weren't using sunscreen. All the history mankind has been on the planet, and they've lived in the sun. They didn't use sunscreen. Now, this is very curious, don't you think? Now, I've heard some things about sunscreens that they are worse than the sun for you in terms of the toxins that get easily absorbed through the skin. So I stopped using them a long time ago, and I go to sunny environments, and I don't ever get anything. I suppose you could overdo it and get it. And also today's people, they're not as like our ancestors, grandparents, they worked out in the field, so they were in the sun a lot. Most people are inside all day. So imagine if you went out and were in the sun a lot, it definitely could have an effect on you because our skin isn't quite used to it. But I think that whole thing about the sun causing cancers needs to be investigated a little deeper than just what we're told. Yeah, we have to look at that because we're told a lot of stuff nowadays that turns out not to be so true. But since it was told to us through those sources which we consider authorities, we've taken them as true. So in real truth, in terms of our teaching, what you believe is going to happen is what happens. If you believe you're going to be healthy and it's not going to affect you, most likely that's going to be the case. But if you have doubt and you think, oh, this is going to do it, we're creating an elemental that's working on our subconsciousness and to produce the very thing we're afraid of. Daslow said your subconsciousness is your best friend or worst enemy. It depends how you program it, right? So a deeper issue here is let's look at what are we programming our subconscious with about health. Now, You say it's from you say I mentioned it's from karmas. Yes, it's from karmas, different kinds of karmas, but not all illness on all people are from karma. Well, they're from their karma. There are those, even just family members, who carry the karma of their family members, of their beloved ones. Masters return after they've burned off their karma and carry the karmas of others. So you can't always tell if you see a person suffering from an illness or something that it's really his karma. I mean, in the case of a master or an advanced person, or even a family member, sometimes they carry the family's karma, family member's karma. And this is beautiful. Christ said, the stronger should shoulder the burdens of the weaker. And this is how it's played out. Now, the illnesses come from basically three things. The most common one is just there's not enough etheric vitality getting in our body. We burn off the amount we've been given every day, our daily bread, that intended to keep our body healthy. So when we overuse it as a personality, this energy supply, it has to come from someplace, right? So it's depriving the archangels of what they need to keep the bodies healthy. Then the deep ones, that's a karma though. That's what we're doing to ourselves. But the karma, there's another karma. We've done things in past lives, you've deprived others. And so when we reincarnate, those karmas carry over and we get accidents and ill health. And that's from our actions in the past. But there are these advanced cases where others are carrying karma for somebody. So you can't always tell. And also there's another one. If you're really on the spiritual path, you get initiations. And some of those initiations involve, well, they all involve pain, but some of them involve physical illness too. So we have to be careful saying they all come from our karma. 99%, yes, but there are other cases. You want to answer that part before we go to the next one?
Of course. Yeah. Let's go one by one. Okay. Hi, Christy. Thank you for your question. Yeah. We received tremendous, not only human beings, all creatures, all phenomena of life are receiving a tremendous benefit from the sun. Without sun, nothing can be existed. The more we study the teaching, how important the sun is, not only the physical material sun, but also all levels of suns we will study. So back to the material sun, we received a tremendous benefit. And this benefit is unconditional love from the sun. So blaming the sunlight is kind of blasphemy to the to the universes. So I love suns and I appreciate the sunlight, but we have material. We are given the material body, and it seems like we all have same. It seems that we all have a kind of same material bodies, right? But actually, each person's material body is different, has a different level of capacity to receive the light. What I mean is not only material light, etheric vibrating light. I mean all levels of light. So the more we develop in spiritually, the amount of receiving the light is going to be changed. That's why we are taught by the teaching we should not touch the Kundalini energy without cleansing our three bodies. When we cleanse our three bodies, then we will be able to receive the light, life light. The more we develop, the more we can be tolerable, bearable to receive this tremendous light. please remember that. So each body, material body looks same, but the next person sitting beside me, beside you, might have a different level of the capacity to receive the light. Then back to the sunscreen, your question. With material body, we can't approach to the material sun, right? It's going to be burned. Even a little higher bodies, we can't access to the sunlight, right? But as a spirit soul, it's easy, no problem. But we are living on this planet with our material bodies. So on this regard, if we receive too much sunlight, more than our material body, which we are given now in this lifetime, it's going to be over the limit. That's going to be the damage. That's why, and I think some people can see the sunlight directly when they develop, but most of people, we warn people, don't look at the sun directly because we are not developed yet. But when we are developed spiritually, then that's going to be no problem. But for the normal, like in our level, living on this earth, developing our three bodies, we need sometime if sunlight is too much, we need to put the sunscreen, but not too much. Oh, without sunscreen, as Daniel said, we can survive. But with sunscreen, that might be we might feel better. So we can use it for comfortability, but not too much. This is my advice about sunscreen. Just a second, please. Yeah, we need to care our material body in a proper way according to the method of this planet.
And if you just think about it, all the races, the black, the red, the brown, the white, the yellow, they've come from different environments, different localities. The black race came out of Africa, where they were in the sun all the time. So their skin is more developed for being in the sun, whereas a white Nordic person from Scandinavia, not so much. So it really has to do with their skin type as well. And Aki, just to underscore Aki's point, yes, some people, the self-realized, can look at the sun. Now, there was this great master named Pirvilat Khan in the early 20th century, and he could. And he talked about it. And his son, who was also very spiritually advanced, heard about this. And so he tried looking at the sun, and he went almost blind. When you talk to him, he had to look at you from the side of his eyes because it blinded him. He wasn't there yet. And there are other people I've heard, or we had a case where somebody sent an email in where they had been told by some irresponsible spiritual teacher to start gazing at the sun. But unless you know the way, unless you're developed, you're going to hurt yourself. It's like
sorry. Go ahead.
It's like the old Zen saying, if you try to cut wood like a master woodcutter, you're only going to hurt your hand. You can't just jump ahead like that.
Daniel, we have a story about Daskalos when he attuned with Christ. Somebody, can you talk about the story?
Yeah, this is the spiritual sun behind the material sun.
So, yeah, of course. But as life energy, can you?
It was Christmas time, and he was having an inner circle meeting, and he only did this, I think, on 3 occasions in his life. But he had a certain way when he wanted to attune to Christ and become one with Christ, he would do his hands in a certain way and call on Christ, and Christ would come and finish out the triangle. And anyway, he was doing it one time, and he became so bright just like the son, that the students, the inner circle students, stepped back and they were afraid to get close to him. They afraid they were going to get shocked. And the heat built up so much in the room that, as I recall him saying, just virtually instantly, the candles melted. Just they melted. So he was attuning to the spiritual sun. He said the vibration are so strong. Even Johanan advised him not to try this because the vibrations are just too strong for his material body, for a material body. You can do it to a degree, but not fully. And he didn't do it fully, but he did it to a much higher degree than most people. And it's, if you recall the story of Christ on Mount Tabor, he transformed into the brilliance of the sun. And all the other disciples had to fall on the ground and hide their eyes. So
Yeah.
we have that kind of sun too.
And one of the students tried to touch the Daskalos, then he fainted and fell down.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So,
In the old days, in the Essenes, the altar was so charged in a similar way that only the high priest could approach the altar, and the others who did not would get shocked or faint or something. And you think about the story of the Ark of the Covenant. Those people who got close to it and touched it who weren't of initiate grade got shocked. So there's this spiritual power that we should be very respectful of, a lot of reverence for it, because it is power.
that by cleansing our three bodies, we are gradually be able to receive the higher, the highest energy eventually.
Yep, one step at a time. Christy
It's
continues on and says, and maybe you might be able to touch on illnesses and family genes. If something in your family has a particular cancer, someone, and then the doctors say it's genetic, and all the females need to get tested for this gene, maybe you could shed some light on this. Yeah, well, there are genetic things, but those genetic inheritance has to do with people who incarnate together because they attract each other. They all have similar lessons. And a lot of times you see this in family, like where the women all have thyroid issues, and most of them have to have their thyroid cut. So they incarnate together. But the real transference of this stuff is not a physical gene, it's a psychonoetical gene. The physical gene is just the outpicturing of the psychonoetical gene and what it's carrying. So keep that in mind.
over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. My answer is, genetically, what can I say? The genetically inherited something. Yeah, it's okay. And it's good to know as the information about our family inheritance. It's just like a normal family inheritance. If we are given this house or the land or whatever we are given from ancestors or parents or whatever, it's a benefited or it's a condition or situation which we are inherited. So, likewise, if your family has the genetically or tendency to be the cancer, it's good to know as the information, because all kind of information and teachings, whatever, with this information we can prepare in advance. So please utilize all kind of information or whatever we are inherited as the information to prevent in advance, prepare in advance. And once for example, if your family has the cancer, tend to be the cancer, then you can try to eat healthy way or what is good for. My father had a cancer and passed on very early age. But then by knowing this, and I can prepare myself how to eat healthy way, uh, how not to accumulate the stress or no. Likewise, you can prepare yourself. And you mentioned about the karma. Yes, illnesses caused by also by karma. But please remember this point too. In this moment, if we change our way of thinking or way of feeling or way of behaving, way of acting, we can change the vibration of now, the present moment. By changing the vibration of present moment, then the karma, what we call karma, future illness or future misfortune can be changed. Please, please remember this important teaching. So, please prepare well, knowing your inheritance genetically or whatever, and prepare in advance and change your vibration now. Then you have lots of different choices. You will have lots of different choices in your life. You can change the karma. This is my advice.
It's like what was said before, your subconscious is your best friend or your worst enemy. So what are you telling yourself? Oh, my family has it. I'm going to get it. That's a very tough one in your family like that. And you have to reprogram your subconsciousness that you won't get it, but you can't put any fear in it. You can't have fear in that you're going to get it and try to reprogram it because it'll just imbue fear in it. And the subconsciousness will know that. So you have to do it in such a way that you are just stating the positive and not, trying to avoid the negative.
And please don't be scared by what we call karma. This is a karma or this is a karmic reason. We can change the karma, as I say now. And also, for this reason, we have been incarnating. We are updating, upgrading our present day personality to always, always, every moment, we are moving forward on the path of the spiritual, on the ladder of the spiritual path. We are updating. So every moment now, we have a chance to change our future.
Scientifically, it's like this. It's like we live in a dome and we create a vibration at whatever level. And that vibration goes out and it has a certain frequency, a certain range. And it goes out and it strikes against the edge, we'll say, and it reverberates exactly back to the point that came out. So if you're still at that same level, it's going to hit you. But if, like Aki's saying, if you raise your vibrations, become more loving, more helping, then you're not there and it's not going to hit you because it can't change levels. You can change levels. But whatever was sent out will have that frequency and unerringly comes back to the source. It's like if you had a bowl of water and you touched the center of it with your finger, it would create ripples out, hit the edge of the bowl, come exactly back to that point. That's the way this stuff works. It's scientific. Okay, Sharon is asking a question.
Hello, Sharon.
Can you speak about Reiki healing? I learned it years ago. I've always been sensitive to feeling energy. Are the symbols and the ceremony and the attunements really necessary to tap into this healing gift? I also did workshops and retreats and personal somatic breath work sessions where we breathe through our mouth heavily for long periods of time to experience an almost psychedelic healing experiences. I've heard you speak of how some deep breathing can harm the lungs. Do you have any insights on these healing methods and that so many others have tried? Yeah, we can talk about this. And obviously, no, they aren't. there are some fantastic healers that have never heard about Reiki, of course, right? From time immemorial all the way to now. There are people who've never heard of it and they're great healers. So the answer is obviously no. Is it a technique that could help? Is it necessary? Well, the thing about the difference between researchers of truth and Reiki is the Reiki are using symbols. Most of you who practice it have no idea what those symbols mean. Also, those symbols were created by man. The symbols we use in Researchers of Truth are archetypes, divine, eternal archetypes created by God, not by man. And what we do is use them to attune ourselves to these higher things. So in some regard, yes, it is helpful to attune to symbols, but they should be archetypal symbols. They shouldn't be something man created, because man creates them, and then 100 years from now, the way we'll be using those Reiki symbols, somebody will create something else, maybe. I don't know, but definitely, Daskalo said over and over and over, never, ever, ever breathe through the mouth. You can breathe out through the mouth, but don't breathe in through the mouth. So creating, I don't want to say compacted energy by breathing intensely for long periods of time through the mouth, create like a psychedelic experience, that's super dangerous, of course. It's super dangerous. It's almost like if you take a hose and just fess it full of water, but it's like you keep it close to this and it swells and it's a great phenomenon. Something happens, but it's not recommended. And I engaged myself back in the 70s at the time when Kundalini was being taught in a most dangerous way. And they used that hyperventilation kind of breathing technique too, just to basically create phenomena. It didn't really, it gave the person an experience, a phenomenal experience, but it didn't really raise their consciousness. It didn't make them more self-aware. It didn't make them a better person. It's just a phenomena. It's just like taking drugs, right? It works while the drug's there, but it's not necessarily good for you. We want a steady climb up through systematic, proven methods. And that's what Daskalo's always said about the teachings and practices he gave. These are safe, self-evident, which means that when you do them, you see results. You know that they're real because you're having the direct experience, the direct benefit from them. So we would counsel people from using symbols they don't understand that were created by man. And let's see. Yeah, I had a guy, it's an amazing story. The guy was from a small island in Indonesia, and somehow he found Swimming with the Whale book. And it talked about the wrong kind of breathing practices that harm the lung. Well, he contacted me, and he was one of those guys. He was doing these wrong practices, and he was bleeding. His lungs were bleeding. And he switched to the Daskalos method, just a simple arithmetic count method, and his lungs healed. So we have to be careful because there's just too many dangerous methods out there, especially now with the internet. So we want something safe, self-evident, but effective. It should really be effective. Okay, Aki.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. And hi, Sharon. Thank you for your question. About Reiki. Reiki's key is Tai Chi's chi. The chi, like Qigon's chi. So ki, chi, we call it, in Japan, we call it the ki. But the ki, chi, like etheric vitality, what is called prana in India. All of them are same, which means etheric vitality. Mind etheric vitality. But this mind etheric vitality has top-down level, from top to the down level. So many different kinds of, so many levels of mind etheric vitalities. As Daskal says, everything is mind. Everything is created by mind. And the lowest level, we call it etheric vitality, chi or ki or orgo energy, prana, whatever. But the Reiki, yes, they use the etheric vitality. They, of course, the symbols are created, as Daniel says, created by a person, Mr. Usui Mikao. And they use the symbols and they study the certain, they aim to use those symbols. And through this method, they try to reach to the certain level of mind etheric vitality as a group elemental. So on this regard, yes, they are using etheric vitality, but my point is which level they are connecting to, which level that what Daniel says is which level we are connecting to, level of energy, etheric energy we are connecting to. This is important. So I don't say, this is good or bad. I don't have such a judgment about the Reiki or anything because they are using the etheric vitality. But what I can say is they connect to the certain level of the etheric vitality, mind etheric vitality, and they try to help people by using it as a group elemental. So this is what I can say about Reiki. And also the somatic breath work. I can't say good or bad because they have many different kinds. Probably some of them might be good. Some of them might be very, very dangerous and harmful. So I don't have any judgment for this, but what I can say is calming down our three bodies and breathe consciously with rhythm and comfortable way, like we do in our exercise. By doing so, we can observe inside of our body and eventually everything around us a very skillful way in the observative state. So on this regard, somatic breath work, some of them might be helpful. But I have one suggestion for you. In the scholar's teaching, in the research of the truth, we have a lot of breathing exercises, a lot of so many different patterns based on basic, very simple way of breathing. We have different patterns. So please study. Why don't you study that? Also, I can say same thing about what is that? Sorry. Uh, yeah, and the healing method. Yeah, about Reiki. Yes, we have the basic important teaching how to work on our body, how to work on other people's body. We have a specific healing method there in the teaching of research of the truth. So why don't you study this and then you can compare based on this knowledge or wisdom. You can compare what is the common and what is the difference between other, for example, somatic breath work. You can compare, okay, this is a common, okay, maybe I can keep this way of breathing, but this might be different, okay, then you can study deeper by comparing it. This is my advice.
Hi, Wayne. Wayne's asking a question. I've heard
Hello.
recently that the book of Revelations come from the lower astral realms. David Hawkins, author of Power versus Force. What are the researchers of truth teachings about the origins of this book? Well, there's a little clue. There's a little clue about the origins of this book. When they show a picture, when they painted pictures of St. John receiving this book of Revelation, it shows him looking up and speaking, and the third person writing down in the book what is being said. Well, he's listening to Christ. This is Christ telling him words and showing him visions. So the symbol here, and not only is it a symbol, it's a message. The fact that he's not writing them down himself, which means he's, as a personality, as a person, is not influencing these teachings at all. It's coming directly from the highest source, and he's just speaking them, and the other fellow is writing them down. This shows this isn't coming from John's own understanding, from John's own personality in any way, shape, or form. So to say that this comes from the lowest realms, when it's clearly Christ speaking and giving these messages, I think it's just a lack of understanding of what Christ is. Most people think of Christ as a personality. He's not a personality only, he's a principle. It is a principle, the Christ principle. So it's coming from the very, very highest realm, not the lower astral. Aki-san?
Okay. I thought that you would speak more.
No, I don't think there need to be any more said.
Okay. Okay. Hello, Wayne. Thank you for your question. Yes, likewise, Daskalos teaching, Christ teaching, the depth of understanding of the teaching is relating to the level of our development to understand something in spiritual level. So same thing happen like Bible. Same thing happen in the revelation in the Bible. Depends on the development of our spirituality. The meaning will be changed. So we, in a sense, we can read the same book, same we can read the revelation in a different way, in a different level. And so I can say we can read the revelation microcosmically, mesocosmically, and macrocosmically too. So who is the name of the author? Probably that author is connecting his level of understanding about the revelation is with his vibration. He understood and wrote a book through his channel. That's why, yeah, lower astral level, no. I'm sorry to say, the revelation has much, much, much deeper meaning in it. And in a simple word, we can read it as the event in the outer world, and also we can read it as our inner initiation, microcosmically, mesocosmically, and macrocosmically. I can't say with words in a limited time. We have to learn and have to experience, we have to feel and experience it. It's more than description. And what I can say is, please meditate on we have two Bibles. Daskar says, no, we should read the New Testament. But in the world, Old Testament and the New Testament is combined as the Bible, no, as one, right? And the Old Testament start with Genesis, how to create, how we are created, how the worlds are created. At the beginning of the Old Testament, start with Genesis. But the end, as all we know, the end of New Testament is with the Revelation, right? If you like, please meditate on how it started with the creation of the universes and all everything, and why the Revelation is the very end of the New Testament. It's a good to study. It's an inner initiation, and it has deep meaning in it. But we have to know it through our experience. This is my advice, Wayne.
Revelations is, truth be told, it's like she's saying, it's the Christian initiation. Initiation into what? Into Christ consciousness. That's pretty high, not low.